Army to try to cut them off from getting back to Washington. He wanted to destroy the Army. He knew that if he couldn't get to them before they got back to Washington, he wouldn't be able to destroy the Army. The Union found out about this, and they tried to flank the retreating Confederate Army. The Union was coming up what is now Highway 29. Confederates came around what is now Highway 50, and the Union went after them to try to prevent them from cutting them off from going up to Washington, and they met at Ox Hill. And
what's difficult is
nobody. I don't think the commanders really knew at the time who was where or exactly who had an advantage, because the Confederates had a huge advantage.
Right.
And you're aware of the storm that hit during the battle. You've done the research on that. You know the tremendous storm hit, and that may have been a blessing in stopping the battle early, but it allowed the Union to go ahead and complete its retreat. The Confederates couldn't take them out of Washington, so they turned and made a fateful decision to go into Maryland and start the Maryland campaign for the first time. The war went into Maryland. So it falls right between the Second Manassas and Antietam.
Any other questions? So would you say that your newsletter would be like a tangible object for people who wanted to learn more about the battlefield, that they would just pick up your letter and or your newsletter? Where can you find your newsletter?
More information. The newsletter's online.
Okay.
It's on the Park Authority website. You kind of have to click through the section called Resources to find it. But
okay.
It's in there, and there is a search button dedicated solely to the newsletter. And if you click on that, or just type in Ox Hill, do a search on Ox Hill with the newsletter, you'll get the information that we've got there. You'll also hopefully be able to find a lot of information about Ox Hill on the website. Hopefully early next year. I hope to have this podcast that I mentioned done by the end of the year and get that up. And that'll have significant information. There's a lot of information within the park itself through the interpretive signs.
Right, yes. We saw, because we went to go visit the park last week, and we saw, it's very nice.
Now, the signs do a good job. The podcast uses the signs. They're designed to just listen to it as you're walking through the park, and it tells you stand here, look here, you'll see this, and that's where they were at that time, that sort of thing. There's the Chantilly Battlefield Association would be another organization that would have a lot more information on them, and probably an internet search could turn up more on them.
Are you excited about the sesquicentennial?
I am. I grew up in the Midwest and spent some time out west in Colorado before I came here, and I was not a history or Civil War buff. I don't have the ingrained Civil War experience that a lot of people who grew up on the East have, because so much action took place here as opposed to where I grew up. And my interest in history grew quite a bit when I came out here, and the Ox Hill thing was a lot of fun for me to research, because I learned a lot, even though it was just one small area. I was able to put together a lot of the things that happened throughout the Civil War while I was researching Ox Hill, and to see how things occurred, how one thing led to another, starting with the inauguration. And the events that followed. I began to be able to piece together a piece of American history that I really didn't know a whole lot about.
Yeah, we did not even know that park existed until
we researched.
Yeah, until we researched, because we were gonna plan on doing another park, and then we saw Ox Hill, and we're like, oh, this is close, so let's go take a look at it, and we went, and we were just so surprised at all the information that was there, and I didn't even know those two generals were there, and the tombstones, and that was really interesting.
Yeah, everything you were saying was all new to me too. I had no idea what was out there until we started. Actually, my research into it started before the reopening of the park, because some of my colleagues here were heavily involved in the construction of the park, and I did a little bit of the publicity on what was happening in the park through the stories that I wrote on the resources. And then the podcast was just an idea that hey, this sounds like a pretty good idea, because there's no place else to go really for tour information.
Oh, right. I know when we got to the park, where we thought there was going to be like someone there, but yeah, there was no one. But there were these I guess these like really big tall things with the signs on them, and we were reading through that, so that was really helpful too.
Yeah, the kiosk at the beginning is really helpful for giving you a taste of what the park is like, and if you don't walk the whole park, which is what, 20 or 30 minutes to
it's not.
It's not, you know,
it's so pretty.
It is really pretty in the fall.
Take the trees.
I know, we did.
Actually, there's some significant flora and fauna out there. It's a pretty significant area naturally too, mostly Virginia pine out there. But it's got a couple of not rare but significant plants that are growing out there too, which had to be protected.
Right. I'm happy that they were able to keep that piece of land just dedicated to the park. It's really nice.
It's significant. It's very small. It's 5 acres out of 500 roundabout ways, but it's all that was left by the time anybody got around to preserving it, and there weren't any thoughts to. I shouldn't say that. I was about to say there weren't any thoughts to preserving it. That's not true. There were always thoughts to preserving it because of the rock pile that I mentioned earlier that was placed out there for the generals. In 1915, those monuments were dedicated to the two generals, so they've been there since then. In fact, that little tiny plot where the monuments are is not owned by the Park Authority. That's been under the auspices of I don't know, I can't remember the name of the organization. There's a board of like 2 or 4 people who oversee the care of those monuments.
Is that why it's like blocked off a little bit? It has like a little
partly and to protect the monuments too. It's a practical reason. Yeah.
All right. Do you have any more?
People have been concerned about preserving at least part of that land for a long time.
That's good.
It was all parkland, or not parkland, it was all farmland at the time of that. Corn and woods. Which makes it scary. Think about it. On a rainy, cloudy day, you can't see very far because of the rain and clouds. You're running across a field and there's nothing across the corn and trees, and you have no idea if there's anybody there or not. Yeah. All of a sudden, gunfire rings out.
I know.
It was a very vicious battle.
And you guys, I read online that you guys sometimes do reenactments.
Yeah, in fact, I hope that on the 150th anniversary, I hope the reenactors are back out there. I don't know what the plans are for that day. I know that something will happen out there. Actually, Virginia Civil War Trails, I forget what the sesquicentennial organization that's based in Virginia is. civilwartrails.org or com, I'm not sure which it is. Civil War Trails, they'll have a lot of information about the entire sesquicentennial. I hope I'm saying that word. They'll have a lot of information about it as the 4-year
but I think
anniversaries pass by.
I can't focus on that right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Glad to help.
Thank you for taking the time to meet us.